I'm John Scholl, Bishop for the Baltimore-Washington Conference, and welcome back to another Discipler Group. I'm glad you're joining us. This begins our fall season for Discipler Groups. And I so appreciate hearing from the guides, the rich stories and the rich conversations that come out of the groups. And so I'm grateful that you've made time in your schedule to be here today and to continue to learn and grow together. This fall, we begin a new series. It's about how to engage laity in ministry. One of the stories that continues to come to my mind when I think about engaging laity is the story of the disciples in the book of Acts and how they began to do everything. They were preaching, they were teaching, they were healing, they were also feeding people and cleaning up afterwards. And finally, one of them said, hey, enough is enough. We can't manage all this. We can't do all this. And so they called forth for people to come and to lead ministry. And if you remember the story, Stephen is the one that's chosen to lead the servant ministries. In our churches, we have people who are just waiting to do ministry. As a matter of fact, sometimes I felt when I was in ministry and I was doing everything, I was really robbing other people of their calling and what God wanted them to do. And so that's what we're going to talk about this fall. How is it that we can continue to encourage and engage people in ministry? Today we have with us Reverend Michael Slaughter from Tip, Ohio, where he leads the Ginghamsburg congregation. And also Olu Brown from Atlanta, Georgia, Impact Church, a new church, a dynamic church, a young adult church. They're going to be sharing with us today about how to engage laity in radical hospitality, welcoming new people into the church, welcoming people so that they become part of the church. Again, we're glad you're here. We pray that this session blesses you as you continue your ministry. Thanks for coming.
I'm here today with Reverend Mike Slaughter, the pastor of Ginghamsburg Church in Tip, Ohio, and we're going to be talking about discipleship and leadership today. So I wanted to start by asking you in the process of discipleship, how do you start at Ginghamsburg?
Well, it really begins with the expectation. And one of the problems with the church growth seeker model of the 80s and 90s, which kind of became the predominant model of church after the kind of the program model of the 50s and 60s that many of our parents included us as children in the church. The problem is, in the seeker model, we lowered the bar of expectation, and we asked people to make a decision for membership rather than to count the cost, calling people to count the cost of what it meant to follow Jesus in discipleship. So as the church moves forward, we need to get over our numbers neurosis, of how many people are on the membership rolls, because, their membership rolls far outpace in the United Methodist Church actual participants, and really get back to a high bar standard for membership. So at Ginghamsburg, we begin right there. If you want to become a member of Ginghamsburg Church, my wife wrote the curriculum. It's published by Abington. It's called Following Jesus, and you become part of this 3-month class. And at the end of that 3-month class, you really examine during that time, what does it mean? The first month really deals with Christology, who Jesus is, what it means to make a commitment to Jesus. Jesus is Lord, which your allegiance to Jesus supersedes all the other allegiances in your life, whether that be country or, whatever allegiance that you may have. At the end of that 3-month period, then, if you want to go on further in membership, you go through an interview process with the other members who really say, hey, here's what it means. And it's basically the same kind of disciplines that John Wesley, enforced, is that you've got to be regularly commit to personal worship and corporate worship. Secondly, you have to be a part of a cell group. John Wesley saw that people could quickly be converted under enthusiastic preaching, but would just as quickly fall away or forget their focus if there wasn't in those days they were called band or class meetings. For us, they're small group kind of meetings. And so to make a commitment to membership is to be in a cell group that holds you accountable for the commitments that you've made and are making in your life, as well as encouragement, to go forward. And we call it celebration, which is worship, cell, and then to actively answer God's call, which is the third part of that, by serving through your giftedness, to be the hands and feet of Jesus in your community and world. So at that point, people make a decision. In the United Methodist Church, anyone's welcome to the communion table. You don't have to be a member to come to our communion table. But to be a member means that, in John Wesley's understanding, is that you committed yourself, what they called in those days, to methods. Why we're called Methodists, we would call those disciplines. So at Ginghamsburg, we have probably 4 times the number of people who attend who make the commitment to membership. So immediately, that raises the bar, and you begin to develop a leadership core, because they've already promised to do really 4 things: to be involved in private and corporate worship, celebration, to be in a cell community, to serve through their call and giftedness, and to tithe.
Okay. Can I ask you about some of those? The one you said about cell group, are they put in a group with other new people, or is it a mix of?
Well, we have multiple ways. One is that we hope that out of every membership class that new cells will start. We have something we hold once a month called Cell Start, for people who are interested in becoming a part of a cell group, and they need to meet people and try some experiences out. And then other people just hear that is the value, and they form themselves into their own kind of cell groups.
Okay. Is there for a set length of time? Or?
Some probably go for a set length of time. Others have probably been together for years.
You've taken this small church and grown it to a large number, and how have you done that in terms of the laity that you're working with, what you have, and how to grow that, helping people grow?
Well, it's a church plant. We began January of 2007. This is our 4th year now. And what we believe in is what Mike Slaughter has talked about previously, is in teams and team building. And so from day one, it was a match between clergy and lay, and bringing those 2 groups together to surround the vision, believe in the vision, and to deploy the vision. And I believe lay individuals are just as passionate and as interested in the growth of the church as clergy are. It's just a matter of positioning everyone and making sure everyone is working related to their passion and their gifts. Okay.
So how do you, as an agent for transformation, how do you get things going?
Yeah. Well, one, we develop vision, and I believe people are inspired and led via vision.
The vision of your church, or which vision?
The vision of the church, in this case, related to the local church plant that we started. Okay. But I believe as it relates to other contexts, whatever that local vision is, very few people will follow or be leaders in an area or an organization where there's no vision. I was reading a book recently and was talking about the Girl Scout organization and how it went through some changing experiences in the late 70s, moving into the 80s. But through a new CEO of reinstituting vision, we now see the greatness of the organization that once was and still is. And it seems like every healthy and growing organization always has as its bottom line some significant vision that is throughout the whole organization. So my hope for leaders, whether they are lay or clergy today, is that they are surrounding themselves in the vision, have clarity around vision, and then go out and make it happen.
So what is the vision of Impact Church?
Well, for us, it is our tagline, doing church differently.
Okay.
And many people ask, what does it mean? For us, it means looking at every aspect of church, not only worship, but our systems, our structure, our order, missions, all of the aspects of church, taking what works well in other church organizations and those things that don't work well, not taking those on. So in a sense, trying not to do church by the numbers or out of the box, but church that is organic, that has its design, that takes into account the past, the present, and the future, which I believe has contributed to much of the significant and exponential growth we've had so far.
So what is the role of laity in discerning the vision
Yes.
and making it real?
I believe laity play a key role in helping to discern and bring forth the vision. I believe, hopefully, I would hope that pastors and other leaders in churches would invite lay input, advice, and opportunity at the designing table of bringing clarity to vision. Because at the end of the day, one person can't do it by themselves, or one staff member can't do it by themselves. It really takes a whole team of staff, volunteers, lay clergy, bringing their gifts and their graces together so that ultimately we achieve. And I think about the early days when we started and how 90% of the folks who supported us were all lay as it relates to being close to the vision and implementing the vision. And without their support, without their gifts, without their skill, we would not be where we are today.
So how do you develop, what is your process for discipleship? You have, it's a new church start, so I'm sure you have some new people new to the faith.
Yes.
That come in, and maybe some others that have already been in a lifelong relationship with the church. But how do you indoctrinate folks with it?
Well, one, from the design of the congregation, whether you come via avenue of mission, worship, or a community event, what we do is take away all the barriers that normal or traditional church settings would have. So if you come via worship, there's not a barrier that says you have to dress a certain way or have a certain amount of biblical history. If you come via the community, there's not a certain barrier that says if you have a certain net worth or a certain educational background that you would be a better fit for us. So one, we find the beginning of discipleship is making the playing field level, where all people feel welcome. And so from the point that you feel welcome, then you are more willing to come into the worship setting, the small group setting, the Sunday school setting, the after school program. And then from that point, we talk about what it means to be a Christian. We talk about what it means to be in the Methodist movement, in the Methodist Church. And then we also talk about what it means to live out your faith in the life of Impact United Methodist Church, so that we do church differently, not only on Sunday morning, but if you're the CEO of a company and you go back to your boardroom on Monday, you ought to be a different kind of CEO. If you're a teacher of a classroom and you go back to that class on Monday, you should be a different type of teacher or a different type of parent or a different type of student. So at the end of the day, we reveal the gospel, we share the good news, we talk about how you can uniquely live that out in your community, in your church and beyond, in your family. And then we hold folks accountable to say, are you living the life? Are you living up to who you say you are in Christ? How do you do
that? How do you do the accountability piece?
For us, it is not confrontation accountability or, turn in a card with all the checks on it, but it is more of a casual accountability related to reminders and encouragement along the way, so that as believers or living out our faith through Impact Church, we believe in tithing, we believe in mentoring, we believe in loving our neighbor. So all of these gentle reminders along the way, more so than turning in your scorecard, because I believe that people are, grown-up adults, and you can tell them to do something, or you can encourage them. And we find encouragement works a lot better, and that if we inspire people to new ways of living and dreaming and being, then ultimately a good majority of people live up to it.
Okay, well, let me ask you about the mentors. Are the mentors the ones asking these gentle questions, or how does that function between, like, someone new to the church and a mentor? What do you assign them? How does that work?
Well, mentoring in general, we encourage people to be mentors in their context. We don't necessarily have mentors for newcomers, but we do have support systems and support groups, and what we call our connection groups, which are support mechanisms for new individuals and existing folks, so that they're not isolated, but they're in community and they're in fellowship. And we really do life together. These small groups, these connection groups, meet outside of the church walls. So we'll meet in local coffee shops or bookstores or even in restaurants. And what we discover over time is that significant relationships are forged. And as people go through their life experiences, there's a young lady now who recently had surgery. And we noticed that there was a list that went out related to meals to be brought to this person. Well, that happens because she was in a smaller group community. And the larger church may never know the individual pain of an individual. But if that person is in a small group or an accountability group,
that's where the care occurs.
That's where the care comes.
Within their group members, okay.
And that ultimately becomes discipleship and modeling, so that as the individual receives care, is blessed by the care, then they go and do for others what was done for them.